What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? First and foremost, welcome back to another edition of the New Breed podcast on Sports Empire Network. I am your host, Jake the Snake Silva from the one hit show, the Snake Sports Talk Show, coming at you live with more young talents than ever before, getting geared up to take it to the next level in the collegiate and to it someday soon see them perform in the NFL level. If it is your first and ever time being on the show, I encourage every one of you guys to like, follow, subscribe, and hit the bell button for all latest notifications to keep you up to date on future and past shows of the New Breed podcast. So joining me all the way from Red Oak, Texas, one of the star wide receivers playing at Red Oak High School, Brayden Robinson is joining me here. Brayden, it's good to have you on. How are you feeling this evening?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, I did have in the past, I had a really, really good committed athlete who, by the way, is actually committed into Arizona State as one of the D linemen. So it's going to be exciting to watching him up in the future. But he had played at Tatum, Texas, and I asked him the same question I'll ask you because the state of Texas, I mean, it's competitive left and right. I watched the documentary of some of the Texas high schools that are out there. I mean, the level compared to because where I live at, I'm in Las Vegas, Nevada, and it don't even come close to the competition it is in Texas. So, from your experience being up in Red Oak, what was that feeling like for you? I mean, was it a little bit more competitive in the state of Texas, or like how did you kind of see that with everybody in all the different high schools in the state?
As they say, Texas is probably one of the most competitive, like, states for football and all that. It's just a great environment to be in, playing with some of the top talent in the country. And you can't slack off every week at practice. You got to go 10 times harder every day. Because you never know what's gonna happen on Friday night. Because it's gonna be a dogfight every time.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, I mean, there's no there ain't no breaks to take, man. I mean, at the end of the day, you're up at 'em 100%, 110% grinding out and just working to be the best version of yourself, and in every game, whether it's on or off the field. And so watching your highlights, I got to say I am like really impressed with a lot of your work and I got to say I'm like am I maybe seeing the future cheetah in the league? Because I'm like, I watched the kid in his routes, and man, he's fast. But seeing from your split time and where you are and running a 4.47, I mean, like in your position as a wide receiver, I mean, that's speaking a lot of volumes to a lot of colleges out there that would love to bring your talents to their program. And I mean, especially offensive coaches. Um, I want to know, like, as far as from you and your position, like, what's your preparation each time you step on that field and you're facing off against whether it's man one-on-one coverage or it's, basically going from like, cover twos, cover threes, however they set opposing defenses. Like, what do you expect the second you're there on the line when the play's about to start?
So we get the play call from the coach, and as I line up, I scan the field to see what coverage they're in, and it basically tells me like what I need to do, come off the line of scrimmage, if I need to come at a full speed, if I need to throttle down a little bit. Because not every route has to be full speed. It's got to beat them with sometimes your eyes, sometimes your hips, and stuff like that. But I would say being fast helps the game a lot. I would say because people have to respect you and stuff like that. So I would just say you have to really just read the defenses and just figure out how they're trying to play you, how they're trying to put you in the box, and figure out a way to get out of it.
Yeah, and I gotta say, I mean, and especially too from the offensive perspective, because obviously being that complementary piece to the quarterback, I mean, he's looking at it and he's like, the second you're wide open, like it's just smooth sailing from there. It's like the playbook just opens up the second that defenses they now have to readjust. They can't figure out how else to cover you. And saying, and I see a lot of these pro athletes when they start getting kick started. I mean, we watch Dolphins players. I mean, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, even some of the fast guys like Brandon Ayuk that we'll see this weekend. Um, but it makes such a huge difference because you get the speedsters, you get the guys that are, very quick on their feet, who are great route runners, and even the guys that just are not afraid to go out on deep routes that have the length, that's got the size. I mean, and when you see that, even for the wide receiver core, I mean, how do you guys go through that in preparation as far as, um, mastering the routes, and then, of course, opening up more of the playbook to complement for, your quarterback, who obviously has to love that when the offense playbook opens up.
Um, I would say like with the routes, arguably we have one of the best receiver coaches in the state of Texas, and with the playbook is I mean it was already open wide open from the beginning. We had probably one of the best receiver corps in Texas. We had Montez Williams and Jay Nicholson, and also Warren Roberson. So it's like most of the defenses were stressed out when they see all four of us lined up on the field. Um, but that just made it a lot easier, and our quarterback did a great job with this year with spreading the ball around pretty evenly. And yeah, I just feel like all the work we did going through the spring, going through the summer, it's going on the same track with the route concepts and all this helped us a lot this year during the season.
Yeah, and I mean, it definitely makes a huge difference, and of course, too, like, having one of the best coaches there in the state of Texas, and especially to getting you guys geared up, mastering the playbook, and, and of course, too, it's like you guys are sending out, like, that Morse code between you and the quarterback, because, of
Right.
course, the quarterback has the expectation as well. You gotta get it to where it's catchable, you gotta get it to where when I'm open, I'm gonna be there and have that direction and that that part of the field to where I can then start to stress out a lot of these opposing corners, and so and it really does make a huge difference. But of course, too, building that rapport and that relationship as well, and building that trust as well from the quarterback and wide receiver, because it makes a huge difference on the offense. Talking about it, I do want to know, like, because seeing it from your experiences, you competed in the AAU Junior Olympics. What was that experience like for you being there?
It was always amazing. It's basically like everybody from around the country just come together in one big track meet, and it's a lot of competition out there. You meet a lot of great people, make new friends, and make new bonds with different people you never met before, and it helps you a lot. I would say with pretty much every sport. I would say
Mhm.
just because being in the environment, meeting new people, and then the competition. Because once you're able to compete on a national level, competing in like your home cities and stuff around like locally, it becomes pretty easy.
Yeah, and of course too, I mean, even being like even in the comfort of home, I mean, there are some players I've interviewed in the past where, one of them I just spoke to, committed to Louisville, and being there from Kentucky, and he's traveled to Louisville 12 times. He just loves the atmosphere and being comfortable there at home. Like, it makes a huge difference. It's like there's not a whole lot of jitters when it's something you've been so familiar with, growing up. So it makes a huge difference from there. Um, but that's awesome, because especially in the Olympics, because yeah, it's a you're in a huge field full of just competition around you left and right, and especially too, you're facing off the best of the best, and so having that experience, it's got to be a one of a kind for sure. Um, so looking at some of the offers, because from some of it you've had offers, if I'm correct on this, from Arizona State, SMU, Ole Miss, Texas Tech, Houston, and also Sam Houston as well. Um, I wanna know kind of like what, like, for Arizona State, because I will tell you that is one player, Brandon Ayuk, who's been from Arizona State, watching him and just seeing him play and compete. Um, I don't know if you've ever gotten the chance to kinda watch a little bit of film from there, but, like, how do you kinda see that as well when it comes to mastering your game plan? Do you kinda watch film on some of these pro athletes and kinda see what are they doing right? What else are they seeing that I could potentially, imitate as well being on the field?
Yes, sir. I like to look at certain guys of my type of caliber, such as Tyreek Hill, Deshaun Jackson, Jalen Waddle. Um, Guys like that, I see like what kind of like what they look at on the field, like what kind of coverages they're seeing, what kind of like breaks they have to do it takes to come out these certain routes and all this. And at the same time, my trainer D Rob, he been training NFL guys since he was for a while, for a long time, and I feel like working with him helps me a lot with just breaking down step by step. Cause I'm just starting at high school, so I feel like if I keep working with him, by the time I get there, it should be a breeze.
And I mean, I tell you, even looking from your stats, freshman year, 31 catches, 726 all-purpose yards, and 10 touchdowns. That's real impressive. I can only imagine what the ceiling is going to be like in the next few years. I mean, we'll probably be talking more touchdowns, probably a lot more yards, maybe surpassing, 1,000, if not 1,500 yards in that manner.
Yes, sir.
And even getting the opportunities of getting more catches as well and more targets. So, even being up in Texas, because I know right now, obviously the Cowboys being in the playoffs, and facing off against San Francisco this weekend. Do you kind of follow a little bit more of it, or is it just mostly just all of the NFL players up in general as well? Because I know it's got to be a big thing seeing those guys, maybe some of them as well in Houston with the Texans as well. You kind of see a little bit of those guys there being in Texas.
Um, Not so much, but I like to watch majority of the NFL. They really don't like to stick with just one team because I want to learn what every other team is learning and all the other receivers and all that. But it's good to see a team from Dallas in the playoffs right now. Um, yeah, it's just pretty cool to see.
Yeah. Um, so I will say though, and maybe for our audiences, because like for a lot of us, I mean, I know for, since the start of the year, it's kind of the norm with everybody all around in the public. We all have, New Year's resolutions. We want to be fit. We want to be healthy. We want to be, a better version of ourselves going into the new year of 2023. Maybe for our audiences, for the experiences, of course, how do you keep those legs healthy? I mean, you have a certain workout routine and how do you kind of stay up in shape to where you ain't missing a beat and mostly like I've always had a thought of with legs like that, man, I want to keep those as healthy as possible. Like, what's your secret?
It's not really much of a secret to it, you know. Just show up every day and give it your all. And we also have great trainers, physical trainers at Red Oak, so they look out for us a lot. And just make sure I got to stretch every day, stay hydrated, and just keep working every day.
And do you guys, if you don't mind me asking, do you guys in the summertime? I remember I used to do this years ago. Do you guys still hold up like 2-a-day practices?
Here at Red Oak, we really don't do two a days, but during the summer we do our conditioning, we do our weightlifting, and our skills training with all probably about 3 or 4 hours.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I remember back then playing in high school where out here in Vegas, we used to have 2-a-days. So there were times where we got up in the morning, we went and did our normal practices, whether they were light or some of them were heavy. And then by the time we then caught back to practice late in the afternoon, close to the evening. And the only thing that I can honestly remember being here in Vegas where it's hot and it's like, the sun's out and next thing you know, by the time practice is over, the sprinklers come on. And it's like you're literally in heaven by the time that they're
Yeah.
coming up and you're like finally cooled off. But that's great though. I mean, that's awesome. They take good care of you guys, all the players, keeping them healthy and even keeping them on the upbeat, especially preparing for, a top tier game, whatever it is to keep the the preparation and of course the focus all on the best. So, what was I gonna say here? So basically, I mean, my big thing is too, like when it comes to, I mean, I know you're pretty much early on, um, but when you do at some point get into that college level, I ask every one of the young
Right.
students this, but usually because I mean it is a lot getting into being a star athlete and of course too at some point pushing for college to the NFL. For some, it may end up being a different story, but if you do, or maybe not, that's fine. Um, but do you have maybe an academic you're kind of striving for, like kind of something that caught your attention that you're like, if when I do go into college, I may want to end up pursuing that. Do you kind of have something in the works, or is it still a little too early?
I mean, right now it's probably business, but you never know. It can change over the next 3 or 4 years.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's somebody that's been looking at, like, wanted to be an entrepreneur since I was very young. Made projects about it and everything. Just seeing how all that would be by the time I get there.
Mm, gotcha. Yeah, and it is it's a thriving business, and I mean, especially with entrepreneurs, if you know how to sell yourself, and especially knowing your brand from top to bottom, cover to cover. I mean, you'd be a successful business person, especially right now in today's world. I mean, social media is a big hit, and everybody
Right.
utilizes them all for different businesses. So one final thought as well. Um, because usually, how do I say this? Especially early on, you've got all the time, in the world in front of you. I mean, you've got a lot of the decisions to make and such. Um, do you, if you can speak on this, do you may have a preferred type of college that you hope would end up reaching out to you at some point?
Right now the door's open to everybody.
Mhm.
Um, I want to talk to anybody who wants to come talk to me. But at the end of the day, my decision will be made off of who wants me the most and what my family and my parents feel like is the best fit for me. And at the same time, it's not just about the coaches that build a relationship with me. At the same time, build relationships with my coaches and my parents. So I just feel like I don't really got a preference right now, but later on down the line,
I
it'll
like
happen.
it, I like it. Always love to keep the window of opportunity open, and it's always good having a stack of cards right there up in front of you, and all it takes is whichever one's gonna benefit you from both on the field and even off the field with your family, and your coaches, and of course, a lot of people that are real close with you as well. I mean, I love that. I love that mentality, I love that thought, and that's always a good way walking into because you never know who else may look at you and say, I want this kid and I want to make sure he's taken care of. Um,
Right.
Brayden, it's so good talking with you, my man. Appreciate you taking the time to be talking with us. Um, Definitely best of luck to you in your future endeavors as well down the road. Because, man, like I said, I'm keeping an eye on these highlights because I'm loving what I see, especially for a lot of these top tier colleges, man. They're gonna love this, and I think wherever you go, they're gonna get somebody special, and especially too taking care of you, making sure that you and your family close relationship stays intact, and all the rest of it as well. So, thank you so much, Brayden. Have a good evening, and we will definitely catch you down the road.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. Well, yeah, Brayden Robinson, folks. Really, really good kid, and watching him, I mean, we may be talking to, the next Tyreek Hill. I mean, he's fast. I mean, you watch him at a 4.47, unbelievable. And I'm watching guys out there on the opposing defenses from corners to defend, like in the safeties. They're just like, how do we even cover this kid? And it's awesome to see that because of the fact of that's what hard work does. Hard work truthfully pays off. And with the amount of talent as well coming in, even for everybody that comes into the New Breed podcast, it's always so good hearing a lot of the experiences. How do they prepare? And, um, what's the main goal? What are they striving to achieve? And that's the best thing, especially um, for a lot of kids. I mean, Texas, the state of Texas is tough. It is a lot of tough competition, and it's one of the best nationwide. So it's going to be awesome to see. And I'm keeping my eye on the kid. I think he's got a lot of great stuff. So really good talking with him and having him here up on the show. Um, Man, it's going to be something special down the road. Alrighty, folks, that's going to do it for all of us here on the New Breed podcast. If you haven't done so already, Like, follow, subscribe, and hit the bell button for all latest notifications on future and past shows to keep you up to date on the New Breed podcast. So many young talents from far and wide, nationwide, coming in, talking with their experiences and what they need to prepare for the next level into the collegiate level, all the way to future stars in all major sports. So definitely check us out. New Breed Podcast. This is Jake the Snake Silva signing off. Appreciate every one of your guys' time. Have a great night, and we'll see you soon.